This video, I'm going to be looking at 5 free agents as of right now that I think could help this team and the type of players that they should be looking for in different roles. I do think you're going to probably have to look at overseas, a lot of stuff for overseas, to find players that are willing to go to Indiana.
Stephanie White is making big news in the WNBA with 5 major free agent rumors. Fans are excited, and we've got the scoop on who might join the Fever. You won't believe who's number 3.
No, certainly, we don't have to make leaps and bounds and go from wherever we are to the top, right? But we've got to continue to get better. We've got to make sure on the days that shots aren't falling that we're able to position ourselves to win ball games.
On the list. This move could completely change things for Indiana. Could these signings turn the Fever into real contenders? Let's dive in. First up on Stephanie White's radar is Julie Van Leeuw, a skilled playmaker who might be exactly what the Fever need to improve their offense. But there's a twist. Julie Van Leeuw is
the only thing with her is that she is a restricted free agent, so you're going to have to outpay what Washington are going to pay. And it really just depends on what Washington get in the draft. Let's just say, like a hypothetical, Washington get Paige Beckers. They want to play Paige at point guard, and you're not going to overpay to have Julie Van Leeuw on the bench.
A restricted free agent with the Washington Mystics. But here's the catch. If the Mystics draft a point guard like Paige Wickers, they might let Van Leeuw go. That's where Indiana could swoop in, making a move that could be a game changer for the Fever. Now, picture this. Van Leeuw running the floor alongside Caitlin Clark. That duo could seriously light up the scoreboard. Van Leeuw isn't just a sharpshooter. Her high basketball IQ sets her apart. She knows exactly when to take the shot, and when...
I think Julie Van Leeuw would be an unbelievably good bench player for the Indiana Fever, because you need because of how ball dominant Caitlin Clark is, you need a point guard who's going to be able to hit shots, be able to play off the ball,
and to make the perfect pass. That's the kind of smart, dynamic playmaker the Fever need to elevate their game. You might
also be a veteran presence, just a better version of what Erica Wheeler is. Like, Erica Wheeler over dribbles the ball, she takes too much out of it, she doesn't even look for Caitlin Clark, whereas Julie Van Leeuw is an actual set up to play point guard. She'll hit the open jump shot, she can play off the ball, and when she's running the point, she's going to actually find Caitlin Clark in the offense where Caitlin Clark's playing off the ball. She's going to allow Caitlin Clark to play off the ball, because that's the biggest problem, is that when Caitlin Clark's playing off the ball, she never gets the ball. So someone like a Julie Van Leeuw, you need a backup point guard. You can't rely on Caitlin Clark to play 40 minutes of point guard for you.
Might be wondering, don't the Fever already have Erica Wheeler? Sure, but adding Julie Van Leeuw would be a major upgrade. Wheeler tends to over-dribble and sometimes overlook...
And Caitlin Clark is not a shooting guard, but this is the first time we've seen completely heliocentric offense in the WNBA from Caitlin Clark, but there are times, we've seen it with Luka, we saw it with LeBron at times in his career. There are times you need to get them off the ball, and I think someone like a Julie Van Leeuw could help, especially because I'm looking at other guards that I think could help in that role. You're not going to get a Kelsey Plum. You're not going to find... You're not going to get, obviously, a Taurasi. Taurasi's not going to...
Clark, which can slow down the Fever's offense. Van Leeuw, on the other hand, would ensure Clark gets the open looks she thrives on, making the offense much more effective. Now imagine this. Van Leeuw brings the ball up the court, draws the defense, and dishes it out to Clark for an open 3. Or maybe she drives, pulls the defense in, and finds Clark cutting to the basket for an easy layup. That's the kind of playmaking Van Leeuw brings to the table. It's not just about Clark, either. Her ability to play both...
Especially if you're keeping Kelsey Mitchell, someone that you can get for probably around $100,000 a year, which again is Damiris Dantas money. So I think that she's really not a bad player to have, because I don't think it's going to be crazy amount. I don't think they'll match. I think you could maybe force Washington into something that they don't want to do as far as money wise, but I'm not sure Washington will match it, especially if they do end up getting that number 1 pick and get someone like...
On and off the ball adds even more flexibility to the Fever's offense. And the best part? The Fever might be able to sign Van Leeuw for around $100,000 a year, a total steal for a player who could completely transform their offense. Especially if you're keeping Kelsey Mitchell, who you can likely retain for around $100,000 a year. That's comparable to what you'd pay someone like Damiris Dantas. Mitchell is a solid player to have at that price. Plus, signing Van Leeuw might put...
This one is a bit out of left field. People talking about this team needing an enforcer, this team needing... they are one of the most likable teams. But everyone's talking about they don't have an enforcer, they don't have a tough player, they don't have a villain.
Washington in a tough spot financially. If the Mystics land the #1 pick and draft a player like Paige Wickers, they might be less inclined to match an offer for Van Loo. That gives the Fever a chance to snag her without overpaying, making it a smart, strategic move. So, could Julie Van Loo be the missing
team looking to get to the playoffs for a 3rd season in a row? Lackadaisical pass picked off by Brown. Sophie Cunningham, the pursuit. She picks up the personal foul. And Brown goes down in a heap. Let's hope everybody is okay as players are in the front row.
Piece Indiana has been searching for? Just imagine the havoc she and Caitlin Clark could wreak on opposing defenses. It's the kind of move that could have Fever fans celebrating in the streets of Indianapolis. But hold on, Stephanie White isn't stopping there. Her next move could shake up the entire league. Ever heard of Sophie Cunningham, the WNBA's most notorious villain? There's a chance she could join the Fever. Picture the chaos and energy Cunningham would bring to Indiana's lineup. It might just be the...
Obviously, Phoenix is probably going to want to keep her. She's coming off the bench for Phoenix, but she is a starter-level player. She's going to be a much better defensive player than Katie Lou. She's probably doesn't fit in with the squeaky clean image of Caitlin Clark, but you know what? If the team wants to bring to have an enforcer, Sophie Cunningham will be that.
Her next move could shake up the entire league. Ever heard of Sophie Cunningham, the WNBA's most notorious villain? There's a chance she could join the Fever. Picture the chaos and energy Cunningham would bring to Indiana's lineup. It might just be the spark.
Get there, and Sutton forcing that turnover. Oh, nice step through, dropping the rookie. You go, Sophie, go! And here comes Sophie and the Mercury. Cunningham buries the 3.
Can't get it to fall. Cunningham the rebound in traffic. Cunningham from...
They need to rise to the top. The Fever already have tough players, but they don't have a true villain. Sophie Cunningham isn't just any player. She's the kind who makes opponents think twice before even stepping onto the court.
We've seen Erica Wheeler getting in people's faces, and that's her trying to do that. Like, you're not gonna no one's gonna mess with Caitlin Clark if Sophie Cunningham's on her team. That's a fact. No one's gonna mess with her if Sophie Cunningham's on
court. A defensive powerhouse. She's always in your face and never backs down. While Phoenix might want to keep her, Indiana could really use that kind of fire. Cunningham's grit and intensity would bring a whole new level of toughness to the Fever.
And she's going to give you enough on the offensive end to be probably worth a starting spot. I don't hate this. I think for the good of the game, it's probably not a good decision. But if you're looking to just for the good of the team, I think Sophie Cunningham might be actually a good choice here. But again, I don't know.
And she could be the player that helps set the tone for the entire team. You might be thinking, doesn't this clash with Caitlin Clark's image? And you're not wrong. Clark is the golden girl of basketball, graceful and full of charm. But here's the thing. That contrast could be exactly what the Fever need. Imagine this. Clark is lighting up the scoreboard, and suddenly an opponent gets a little too physical. Who's there to shut it down? Sophie Cunningham. She'd be like Clark's personal bodyguard on the court. No more easy shots, no more pushing Clark around. Cunningham would make sure of that. Her toughness would give Clark the
She's big, and she's still good. Like, Tina Charles is still good at this point.
Freedom to focus on scoring while Cunningham handles the defensive side, creating the perfect balance for the Fever. Don't think Cunningham is all muscle, she's got serious game too. We're talking starter-level skills that could elevate both Indiana's offense and defense.
Obviously, no longer playing for Washington, but I do like the Tina Charles to be a mentor for Ilya Ball.
Cunningham brings the toughness, but she also has the skills to back it up, making her the kind of player who can make an immediate impact on both ends of the floor. Adding Cunningham could completely change the identity of the Fever. Suddenly, they wouldn't just be the team with the flashy rookie. They'd be the team
I think you bring her in for a year, you can have Aaliyah Boston learn.
No one wants to mess with. It's like adding fuel to a fire. Explosive results. Cunningham's toughness and...
I think especially because the fact Fever aren't going to be good next year, and with the way contracts are, cap is going to explode in 2026. Everyone you're signing is on a 1-year deal. So I think a 1-year deal for someone like a Tina Charles might not be a bad option at all.
Skill would give the Fever a new edge, making them a team that's not only exciting to watch, but also tough to beat. That mix of talent and grit could elevate Indiana into serious contenders. You might be wondering if adding such a tough player could cause issues in the locker room, but think about it. Teams that bring in enforcers often see their performance skyrocket. Take the Sparks, for example. When they added some physical players, they turned into playoff monsters. Having a player like Cunningham can bring out the best in the team, creating a more resilient...
Look, your building blocks are Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston. I don't think there is possible for like a on-court mentor for Caitlin Clark because there's no one that even plays remotely similar to how Caitlin Clark plays in the WNBA right now, so I don't think there's anyone you can bring in.
And focus group. Her presence could push the Fever to play harder, defend tougher, and ultimately perform at a higher level. It's the kind of spark that can transform a team's mindset and elevate their game. Do you think Sophie Cunningham could be the missing piece that turns the Fever?
I think you're probably a lot more likely to get a Tina Charles who hasn't played with just the one team all the way through. She's played for the Sun, she's played with the Liberty, she's played the Mystics, the Mercury, the Storm. So if you can get a Tina Charles just to help Aaliyah Boston as a vet, because she hasn't really had any vets. They've got Tammy Figbenley, who's not really a WNBA vet. She is an overseas vet. But I do think that Tina Charles is an option, is pretty...
Into contenders? Can you imagine her and Caitlin Clark forming the most unexpected dynamic duo in WNBA history? It's a move that could have the entire league shaking in their sneakers. But trust me,
So, I think Dejanay Carrington is the perfect player.
Stephanie White isn't done yet. The best is still to come. You might think the Fever need more firepower to compete, but what if their secret weapon isn't about scoring at all? There's a reason championship teams always have that one veteran presence, Tina Charles. She's not just any veteran. She's a walking basketball encyclopedia. Here's why she could be the Fever's game-changing addition. Her experience, leadership, and basketball IQ would provide the perfect balance to the team's younger stars. At 36 years old, Tina Charles has seen it all in the WNBA. She's an MVP, an 8-time All...
She is a decent offensive player, an ever-improving offensive player. She is the best perimeter defender in the WNBA. She's aggressive. She's strong.
Star and a 5-time All-WNBA first-team player. That's the kind of experience you just can't teach. But here's the thing. Charles can still bring more than just her accolades. Her leadership, basketball IQ, and ability to mentor younger players would be invaluable to the Fever.
1 second for Carrington. Lays it in at the horn.
Here is Burton, and it's knocked away by McBride. Kayla McBride, the defensive play blocked by Carrington hard. And
Burton, a 3. Off the mark, Carrington.
She's the type of veteran who knows how to win and can help guide the team to new heights, on and off the court. Tina Charles taking Aaliyah Boston under her wing could be a game changer. Boston is already a force.
She's also going to be one of those players that is so good on defense that it affects how offensive players play. She imposes herself on the defensive end so the perimeter offensive players are going to struggle.
But with Charles's guidance, she could become unstoppable. Charles knows every trick in the book when it comes to post play and defensive strategies, and she could teach Boston moves that would leave opponents scratching their heads. With Charles as a mentor, Boston...
I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a near impossibility for it to happen. But if it does happen, it is the perfect sign.
His game would reach new heights, making the Fever's front court even more dominant. The combination of Boston's raw talent and Charles's veteran knowledge could make them a dynamic duo that's tough to beat. Bringing Tina Charles in for a year could be the perfect move. Having Aaliyah Boston learn from a seasoned veteran like Charles could be a game changer for her development. Charles's wealth of knowledge and experience would help Boston refine her skills, particularly in post-play and defense, taking her game to the next level. A year of mentorship could set Boston up for long-term success, making the Fever even more dangerous in the future. It's a short-term investment with the potential for huge long-term rewards. Tina Charles has been through the highs and lows of a long WNBA career, so she knows exactly what it takes to stay at the top year after year. That kind of mental toughness is priceless, especially for a young team like the Fever. Now, you might be wondering, can Charles still contribute on the court? Absolutely. She's still a productive player and, get this, she signed a reasonable contract for just $130,000. That's a steal for a player who can give solid minutes and, just as importantly, mentor the Fever's young stars. Charles would provide the perfect balance of experience, leadership, and on-court performance to help elevate the entire team. Imagine this. Tina Charles sets a rock-solid screen for Caitlin Clark, then rolls to the basket. As the defense collapses on Charles, it leaves Aaliyah Boston wide open. Clark dishes it out, and Boston scores. After the play, Charles is right there to break down exactly what made it work, like having a player coach on the court. Her ability to not only make plays but also instantly analyze them and teach the younger players is a game changer. Charles can bring both experience and teaching moments that would help the Fever grow faster, especially in high-pressure situations. She's the type of veteran presence that can help elevate the entire team's basketball IQ. But here's the best part. Tina Charles has played for several teams throughout her career, experiencing different systems, coaching styles, and locker room dynamics. All that knowledge could be exactly what the Fever need to build a winning culture from the ground up. Charles has seen it all, and she knows what it takes to succeed in different environments. She can bring that wealth of experience to help shape the Fever's culture, instill winning habits, and guide the team through both the highs and lows of a long season. Her leadership could be the key to creating a foundation for sustained success in Indiana. So, could Tina Charles be the missing piece that turns the Fever from underdogs into contenders? Absolutely. Her wisdom and experience, combined with Aaliyah Boston's raw talent, could dominate the paint and elevate the Fever's game to a whole new level. It's a move that could make the entire league do a double take. If Stephanie White pulls this off, the Fever's future is looking brighter than ever. As for Dejonai Carrington, it's unlikely she'll sign with the Fever due to her rocky history with the team. Still, there's no denying her talent. Carrington is the type of player who could instantly elevate the Fever to contender status. So, why isn't she at the top of every team's wish list? The answer might just surprise you. Carrington is a nightmare for opposing offenses. She's so disruptive that teams have to completely adjust their game plans when she's on the court. Her aggressive style and strong presence make her one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. When Carrington's guarding you, you can bet it's going to be a challenge. She'll hound you every step of the way, making it nearly impossible to get easy shots off. Her defensive tenacity is something every team would love to have, but the question remains, why isn't she a top target for more teams? The answer might be more complicated than it seems. Carrington is indeed a nightmare for opposing offenses. Her disruptive style forces teams to completely rethink their game plans when she's on the court. With her aggressive approach and strong presence, she's one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. When Carrington is guarding you, it's going to be tough to get an easy shot off. She's relentless. Her defensive intensity is exactly what any team would love to have. So, why isn't she a top target for more teams? The answer might lie in some other aspects of her game, or possibly her fit within certain team dynamics. It could also be due to factors off the court that teams are weighing when deciding whether to pursue her. But no doubt, her defensive prowess alone makes her a valuable asset to any roster. Carrington's defensive stats are off the charts. She completely alters the flow of the game. Opponents struggle to set up their offense when she's on the floor. Her impact goes beyond the box score. She forces bad shots, disrupts passing lanes, and makes life difficult for the other team's best players. Carrington has a way of dictating the pace of the game with her defense, preventing easy plays and forcing turnovers that often lead to fast break opportunities. Her presence alone can change how an opposing team approaches the game, making her one of the most disruptive defenders in the league. The reason it's a long shot is that the Connecticut Sun will do everything they can to keep Carrington. Even though they have salary cap problems, they know how important she is to their team. For Indiana to get her, it would take a perfect combination of things, like the Suns' cap issues, Carrington wanting to leave, and the Fever being able to make the right offer. It's tough, but not impossible.